This is Peter Anderson from BibleMoneyMatters.com. And now, your host, Eric Rosenberg. He'll balance your checkbook, he'll tell you where to invest, and he'll even DJ your wedding. This is the Personal Profitability Podcast.
You're listening to the Personal Profitability Podcast, where you'll learn how to earn income, live better, and put your money to work for you. Here's your guide on your path to personal profitability, Eric Rosenberg.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Personal Profitability Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Eric Rosenberg, and I have a very special guest here with me today. He is not just a finance and side income expert, he could also body slam you and do many other painful things. So I am speaking of none other than the famous Latin lover himself, Martin Dakso. Say hello, Martin.
Hey, how's it going? I'm not sure how famous I am yet, but I already feel famous. It's time for the world to figure it out.
We'll get you there for sure. This helps. You know, we're getting you on the audio rate, the internet radio, I guess we could say. What podcast?
Oh, I hope that your fame rubs off on me a little bit.
So a little background on Martin for everybody. I've known Martin for a few years. We are in a mastermind group together, which is a group there's 4 of us in my group, and we get together. We email once a week and have a couple of audio video calls a month, and we talk about the projects we're working on and the businesses we have and try to help each other succeed, give each other motivation. So I know Martin pretty well. He's actually also going to be my roommate at the upcoming FinCon this year, which is uber fun. So let's start with some of the more boring stuff, and we'll get to the exciting stuff, so you keep listening. So Martin started, can you tell us how you started with your first side income project?
Well, I don't think it's boring. That's not really nice, Mr. Eric. I find it to be exciting. If you want my first side income, it was selling chocolates when I was in grade 7. I worked for a company, and then we went door to door selling chocolates. Well, I would sell a box of chocolates for $3, and I would keep $1 profit.
That's pretty cool. So 33% of your sales you got to keep. Grade 7. So if you didn't pick that up, everyone, Martin is in Canada, where they say grade 7, not 7th grade, and a little different.
Sorry.
I know, it's always funny to me, the little differences of Canada and the US, but pretty similar. So 7th grade, that'd make you about 12 years old when you were doing that?
Yeah, about 11, 12, maybe 13. I wish I had some emotional story. I've always just been a greedy kid. There's no other way to look at it. My parents were pretty poor, so I just wanted my own money, and it was just simple for me. If I wanted something, I had to work for it. So I figured, why not sell chocolates?
That's similar to Warren Buffett's story. He his first job, I think he was a little younger than you, but he started delivering newspapers. He started working at a really young age, and look at his success now. So you're following in really good footsteps.
I'm only a couple $1 billion away, and I'll be at his level.
And we'll get you there, right? I mean, you're the Latin lover after all. So what did you? So you made a few bucks doing chocolate bar sales. Then what came next?
Then I did deliver newspapers.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
literally in Warren Buffett's footsteps.
Well, I mean, if I'm going door to door, I might as well, if they don't want a chocolate, I might as well deliver them a newspaper.
So were you on your bike? Were you in a car? How did that come to be? How did you start?
It sucks because in the movies, the paper boy is always on a bike. He's cruising. He throws the paper. Everybody knows him.
Mm-hmm.
For me, we weren't allowed to use a bicycle. We had to actually walk door to door and put the actual newspaper in the mailbox.
Was this in Toronto?
Yes.
So cold winters, hot summers. Yes,
it was a brutal job. I mean, and the worst part was that, as you can imagine, I would try to take a shortcut, go house to house.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the older folks didn't like me stepping on their grass, so I would get yelled at a lot as a kid. I'd be stepping on their grass, so they wanted me to walk all the way around. So it wasn't exactly a glamorous job delivering newspapers.
Did it pay well, at least for all those cold winters and getting yelled at for stepping on the grass?
Well, I remember. I think I made $100 a month.
$100 a month. Hey, when you're a kid, that's a lot of money, right? $100 a month.
I remember I saved up for a scooter. That was my first big purchase. I bought a scooter. Do you remember when scooters were in?
It was like a Razor scooter.
Yeah, like a Razor scooter. Like I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Buying a scooter for $100.
Did you ride it to school and show off to the girls?
Well, I did, and they weren't impressed for some reason. I don't know why.
They weren't impressed by the wheels. How old were you when you got your scooter?
Grade 7, grade 8. I was also very nervous back then. I'm the oldest brother, so
Okay.
I had to experience everything first on my own. Sales, dating, all that kind of stuff. It was never easy for me.
You paved your own path. That's something to be proud of, I think.
Oh, my brother, when he was 15, he had everything. He was already a barber. He had a girlfriend just because he learned from me. At 15, I was a nervous little boy,
He was learning from the best, right?
Exactly.
So after newspapers, what was your next entrepreneurial adventure?
I'd like to say my grass cutting. It was entrepreneurial in a sense that I never worked for a company. I thought it was cool that I would go to this one, like an agency for elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
And they would give me a list of contacts, and it was my job to contact the people and set up the appointments.
Okay.
So this was my first taste of true freelancing.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you know this, it's kind of nerve-wracking to call somebody.
Yeah, cold calling is not a fun or comfortable thing.
I was in grade 9, I think, grade 10, 10th grade, whatever you want to call it. And I remember I would have to call these people, and I'd be like, and they weren't even cold leads; they were warm leads because they wanted their grass cut. Yeah. I was just so nervous about it, I was just like, I would call, and it was really simple. All I had to do was call them and set up an appointment. But it was really nerve-wracking at first.
That's kind of interesting you bring that up. I've been reading a bit about how kids today, young kids, not kids like us, are having really tough times with social skills, particularly phone calls. And they get really freaked out about phone calls because they don't do it very often anymore. It's all so text-based, and everyone's emailing. You can respond at your own time. When you get a phone call, it's like you got to be on demand, ready to go, ready to talk. And a lot of people can't think on their feet like that. It's kind of sad. It's like a lost art form. A good phone call.
It's funny you say that because I have a friend who's in his late 30s, and we'll be texting, and he calls me. So I think something happened, right? I'll answer the phone, and he goes, I'm like, is everything okay? He goes, yeah, I just wanted to continue the conversation over the phone. Yeah. And even me catches me off guard. I'm like, oh, so everything's okay, right? Like, you're not in an emergency?
Like, I remember in like middle school and high school, if you liked a girl, you'd sit on the phone with them as long as they would be willing to talk to you, and you'd feel really cool that you were talking to them. It's a real girl on the other end. And I don't think kids do that anymore, but they also have, you don't have to sit around and wait for them to call you at home. They have cell phones. They just text each other all day. It's or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever they're doing to each other.
You can just wait to see if she likes your Instagram photo. Then you know she likes you.
And you could swipe, right? What's that what you do on Tinder? You swipe? I don't know. I'm already married.
I've been told on Tinder that you can swipe right. That's what I've been told. Rumor has it.
I've never Tindered. It came out when I was already married. So I was like, what's this Tinder thing? It's a weird world. I guess I'm getting old. I don't know.
I'll be honest. Tinder is an addiction from what I've been told,
From what you've been told, not personal experience.
From my friends, my friends use it a lot.
Totally. Just your friends.
yeah, these guys, I don't know what kind of stuff they're into.
So you did, so were you mowing the lawns yourself, doing the manual labor, showing up, cutting people's lawns?
Well, this is my first real taste of freelancing, as I said already. Yeah. I would call the person, I would get their information, I would show up. Mm-hmm. And the catch was they had to supply their own lawnmower and their own tools. Huh. So
you'd like bike over, walk over, get to their house on your own, and then you'd show up and their lawnmower should be waiting, ready to go for you?
Yes, this was perfect in theory, but in execution it never happened.
And did they not always have the lawnmower, or was it broken?
It varied from broken lawnmowers to people forgetting that I was supposed to show up. To cranky, folks, to people wanting me to do odd jobs. One guy would pay me. I thought I was making a fortune. He would pay me just to water his plants.
I when I was younger, when my neighbors went out of town, they'd pay me like $5 a day, or probably less than that, $5 a week, to go over and water their plants every day. Which hey, I walked next door, turned the hose on, turned the hose off, and I was good to go. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, this guy would pay me $7 an hour. That's what I was making.
That's a big step up from $100 a month delivering newspapers.
Yeah, that's why I was loving it. $7 an hour, and the guy wanted me to water his plants all day. So I was there for a good part of the day and making my $7. I thought I had it made, right?
Was it like the creepy old guy on Family Guy that's always like scoping out Chris, like, keep watering my plants?
I swear to you, he actually looked like that guy. except that he was the friendliest guy in the world. He's super cool. Good. He just wanted to show off that he had the nicest lawn. Like he was immobile. He had to do something with his money. Might as well pay the kid to water his grass.
Yeah, totally. So how long were you doing the lawn care business?
So all throughout high school, I spent my summers. Luckily, I never failed anything until later on. So I spent my summers cutting grass and working as a soccer referee.
Okay, how did you get in the soccer referee game? So you did both each summer. So maybe like weekends you were doing the soccer stuff, weekdays you were doing the lawns.
Oh, weekends when I got lucky. Weekends if I got lucky, I could do a soccer tournament.
Ooh!
And now you're talking 3 games. You're talking close to $100 a day. So I'm moving up in the world.
Yeah, gee, I'm surprised you're not already the billionaire like Warren Buffett. With this kind of acceleration.
It takes time, There's only so many lawns.
That's true.
So I would cut grass all day, and in the evenings I would try to referee every single day.
Okay.
And I got started because I played soccer, and then this one guy was he was like a coach / angry parent.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, I found out that he had a course teaching you how to be a referee.
Okay, so did you pay to take the course, like a little?
Of course, investment? You got to pay for everything these days. Come on, Eric.
You got to invest. I'm just trying.
Everybody has a course on something. There's a course on everything these days.
Yeah,
so I took the course. I got my brother to take it because I didn't want to do it alone.
Mm-hmm. So
we took the course and we watched soccer games and hung out, and we were certified referees, ready to referee games and be the most hated person on the field.
So were you refereeing for like kids leagues or adult leagues, or how did you?
Here's the catch, Eric. My whole life has been on the job training.
Okay.
So being a soccer referee prepared me for becoming a pro wrestling villain. Because there's no bigger villain than a soccer referee when the team is losing 6-0.
That's true. Then any call against them, they're like, "Come on, we're already losing 6-0. What are you doing, man?"
There's no bigger villain than a soccer referee. This got me ready. Dealing with this animosity now, when I'm a villain, when I get in the ring and everybody hates me, I embrace it. Because those summers as a kid were rough. I was in theory supposed to referee people younger than me, but my whole life, things kind of worked out in a funny way. So I would get calls. He'd call me, the guy, the angry parent who ran the refereeing, the refs. I guess he was the head ref.
Mm-hmm.
He would call me and tell me to go to a game, not thinking about anything. I'd get there and the people are older than me. Which you have to keep in mind, when you're 13, 14, a 16-year-old might as well be an adult, right?
Yeah.
So I would get there, and like these guys are driving, and I'm riding my little bicycle to the game. It's taking me an hour to get there. And these guys are cruising, they're smoking cigarettes, they got girlfriends, they're cursing, And here I am, just a nervous little kid with my whistle and a couple of cards.
Did you ever red card them just to I'm the power guy, you're out of here?
Oh, no. A funny story. One game, I got called in. The other referee called in sick. I don't know how you call in sick to being a referee. So they called me to go to the field. I get there, and they thought that I was the ref who was supposed to be there originally.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought that I was late. And this is one of those games where they had to pay for the ref extra because it was like a holiday or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they hated me. And it was like 2 teams that hated each other. So it was a very aggressive game.
Yeah.
So then at one point, the guy, he blatantly committed a foul. I had to give him a red card. So I get in my pocket. I'm like, my first red card. I'm so excited, right? I pull out my stack of cards. I left the red card at home.
Oh no! Did you hold up 2 yellow cards?
I gave the guy yellow, and everybody was and instead of improvising, I just said that's a yellow, and it was clearly a red. The guy had to be ejected from the game.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they weren't happy with me. They let me know. They weren't afraid. You know, soccer fans.
And they're
not afraid to tell you how they feel.
When I did a semester in Jerusalem in college, we went to the local soccer team, Beitar Yerushalayim, and they're known to be kind of the most rabid fans in the country. And in Israel, it's a funny thing, the soccer teams, or football teams, as you would say in Israel, are each tied to a political party. So it's not just like, Denver versus Kansas City playing football, two rivals. It's the Democrats versus the Republicans, or the liberals versus the conservatives. So
God.
It's city passion plus political passion. And the words that I learned in the stands were not the same as the words I learned in Hebrew school when I was doing the Hebrew classes. It's the
funny how that works, huh?
I know, all these new words I got to learn, that like the street slang, and it was the things they were yelling at the referees that I was learning, not the other team.
Wow, yeah, the referee is the most hated man on the field.
I was I would not have wanted to have been a referee at any Beitar Yerushalayim game, especially an away game, because they go in mass, like hundreds of them, and they're the ones known to cause the riotous outbursts at the end of games if things don't go their way. So
the worst part was sometimes the team would be losing like a big time, and they had the nerve to blame me. I'm like, you lost by like 5 goals. What could I possibly have done for you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
If it was 1 goal, you might be able to say, referee, you were too hard on us, that 1 call. But yeah, 5 goals. They're just looking to blame somebody. I think that that's a bad day.
My favorite complaint was one time they complained because the other team's jerseys were too intimidating.
The other team, wow. I mean, if you watch American football, I've seen one time a team traveled and brought the wrong color jersey when they traveled, and there was this whole big uproar from the home team saying we wanted to wear that color and we had to change colors, and that put us at a disadvantage. So people will blame anything for losing or winning a game. Maybe like underinflated.
That's how life works, though. That's how life works. When things don't work out, there's always someone or something to blame.
If it's the color of your jerseys, I think you need to find something better to do with your time than complain.
Yeah, you might need a better game plan.
So speaking of game plans, you made it through high school. You were in the summers doing the lawns, doing the soccer refereeing. Next, you did that. Did you do that all through high school?
Yes, I was very busy in high school. I worked all throughout my summers, and yeah, those are my summers. There's lots of work and lots of sports.
So what did you do next step after high school?
So I didn't really want to go to college. Like, you know how like everyone's, you have friends that have their life figured out.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been that guy. You know what I mean? For me, as I mentioned earlier, it's all on the job training. And it's just like my whole life's been just seizing opportunities and just one day at a time. So I went to community college first, actually.
In Toronto?
Yes, in George Brown College in Toronto. So I did it totally different. Like I said, I've always been greedy.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wanted to go to school. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted an education just because I come from an immigrant family, and my parents weren't able to study. Mm-hmm. But the one problem was that I was greedy, so I wanted to work.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to work right away. Like I didn't want to go to school. I thought that I'm like, all right, that's 8 hours. I can't be working. I should be working those hours. I should be making money.
You didn't want the delayed gratification of the degree. You wanted the income right now.
Oh yes. So I went to community college because this way I figured it's a lot cheaper. I don't know how it is over there, mm-hmm. but community college is like a fraction of the cost of a major school.
It's the same here. Yeah, it's much. You can go community college classes here could be under $100, where at
nice.
A state school, it could cost thousands of dollars per class.
Wow.
At a private school, many thousands per class.
See, because I had like older friends and coworkers and people I spoke to who were they were in their 30s and they were still paying off student loans. And to me, this made no sense because I wanted to buy a rental property. I don't want to get too off topic here. I remember when I was 17, I told my neighbor Greg, I said, I'm going to buy a rental property before I ever buy a car because a car is a depreciating asset. I want to I want to invest.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting thing you bring that up. So when I worked at a bank. That was my first job after college, and I noticed all of the management level people and up all had nice cars, but not the fanciest cars. And all of the cashiers and the lower paid, the hourly employees, they had like Escalades and these pimped out rides with cool speaker systems and all. And I was talking to one of the other managers about it. He said, "Yeah, I don't get it. They're putting all their money into this depreciating asset, and we have cheap cars, but we drive to a nice house that keeps growing in value." Yeah. So it's a mindset that it's important to get. It's hard to understand at a young age, but I know adults that still struggle with that. Like, I want the new cool car. Well, you can't afford the cool new car. You can't even afford to pay your mortgage.
I struggle with it daily too. I just knew that life would be better if I had a condo as opposed to having a shitty car,
Totally.
Like my friend spent all his money on a car, and he was cool, he went on more dates than me, but he had no money, Yeah. Like he had to steal gas from his parents' lawnmower one time just to get home.
That's pretty low, stealing gas from the lawnmower. And you can't get much out of a lawnmower. It's like a half a gallon.
And I went to community college. Like I said, I was greedy. And then when I was in community college, something strange happened. I actually liked school.
Whoa.
It's funny because in high school, I was just forced to take courses, you never really enjoyed anything. I find like in high school, you don't really get prepared for the real world. You don't learn anything about solving problems or investment properties or real life skills.
Oh, they teach you biology and chemistry.
Yeah, I just took these random courses that I just barely passed, and I just didn't see the point of it. But in college, I got to take my own courses, and I really liked it. I really liked business and management and finance.
So did you keep going at the community college, or did you ever switch to a different university?
So being the greedy guy that I was, I found out that I can transfer to a university. So what I did was I took my 3 years at community college. It would take me longer, but I would save money.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 3 years, I could take university level courses and then transfer them over.
Mm-hmm.
So I did 3 years at a community college, and I worked crazy hours. I was working odd jobs. I was just doing whatever I could to save up money. I started blogging, which we can get into later.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to university for 2 years. I transferred most of my credits. So it was 3 years in college, 2 years university. And I finished with, it wasn't easy, but I finished with zero debt. And that was my goal. My goal was to start my life as early as I could. Because, I didn't want to be 30 and broke and pissed off at the world. I wanted to be in my 20s and financially free and able to do whatever I wanted to do. I never got to go away for college. It was an option, but I just couldn't do it. My eyes are so focused on the prize when it comes to being free in my 20s. I sucked it up. I had a girlfriend. It was tough, having a girlfriend living with your parents. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I won't get into details, but that wasn't easy. But then I finished college with zero debt.
Oh, that's great. So, how much does university cost up in your neck of the woods?
I'm kind of out of touch now. It's been 5 years, but $7,000 to $10,000 a year.
Okay.
Plus, obviously, that's just the tuition and the books and.
Right. So that's comparable to a lot of the state schools down on the side of the border.
I could have easily gone away. My brother went away, which I visited him a lot just to catch up and make up for lost time. But I chose to stay in town. I lived at home, and I took the bus, and it was an hour each way.
That's a ride right there.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because people always say, "Oh, it must be luck. Must be nice that you get to travel."
To what?
But, I went through that struggle. I woke up at 6 a.m. and just to take that stupid 1 hour bus ride to school.
What degree did you end up getting when you finished?
I got a BCom, Bachelor of Commerce in Management and Finance. Okay,
so when you finished school, did you put that degree to work and go out and find the job, or did you start working on your own stuff right away?
I didn't use the degree for 1 second.
No.
I went to university because like I said, my parents wanted me to go. I ended up liking the program, but I really quickly figured out that it wasn't the life for me. Working in that field full time for the rest of my life for the next 40 years. So when I was in school, I started my website, which you may know of, Studenomics, whatever you want to call it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's won a few awards,
It's studenomics.com for listeners. STUDENOMICS. Just like it sounds.
You get an A+ for spelling, Eric.
I know. I always did well in spelling tests when I studied in elementary school.
It's funny, but everything kind of changed from university because I started reading more. I started investing in myself. I was already in school. And I found that even though I like some of my courses, the whole educational system is just flawed in general. Like, I was studying business, and we were learning about this new thing called PayPal. Like, really? 2009, you were learning about PayPal? Like, come on, this has been around for a while. So I started reading, and once I started reading, I started investing in myself, attending events, and reading more. And my whole perspective just changed totally. And at that point, I knew that, like, as I told you, I was always into personal finance, saving money, and all my friends would come to me for their like money related questions, kind of like just personal finance stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff that to me was common sense. But I figured that this one I realized that money isn't logical. Money is very emotional, and there's no one size fits all answer.
Right.
So since I was studying finance and I was helping all my friends, I thought that I could start a business based around finance somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
So then me and my buddy, we got together and we decided to do something in this field. So we had business meetings, we met up, we did research, we hung out, we talked about it, and then guess what happened?
Your friend quit?
Nothing happened. We spent 8 months talking about business ideas.
You just planned and planned and planned, but didn't execute on anything?
Execution over everything else. Execution over education. I learned a quick lesson. So one day, after 8 months of talking about this, I went on Dough Roller, one of my favorite blogs, and I read a quick article on how to start a blog. Because I was actually writing articles. I just didn't know that there was a thing called a blog. I didn't know these were blog posts. I thought that I could write a bunch of articles and sell them and give financial advice. And then one day I read Dough Roller and I learned how to start a blog. So I did the start a blog in 3 easy steps, whole gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
I started a blog. I needed a name. I thought Studenomics. How clever, right? Like, I thought that was the coolest name in the world. Like nobody would see this one coming. And I'm so grateful I chose that because this is during the era where everybody was keyword stuffing their names.
Yeah.
It was either Studenomics or Student Personal Finance, SaveMoney.com, So
yeah.
Luckily, I at least thought of a brand name. And then I used the most basic, cheapest theme, and I launched Studenomics November 7th, 2008.
That's the day that will live in infamy.
The what?
The day that will live in infamy.
Oh, forever and ever.
So where did that journey take you? How has your life changed from starting that online business?
So just like when I first got my first soccer tournament, I worked all day, I made like $100.
Mm-hmm.
After 1 month of blogging, I got contacted about a text link about someone selling like advertising space on my blog,
and
they offered me $20 for per month for this text link, and I had it made. I had life figured out,
I remember my first ad I took on my blog was $10 for a post with a link to.
Well, that's embarrassing.
It was a link to a UK payday loan site or something. I think the post is long gone, but at the time I was like I was like $10 for doing nothing other than sitting here. Like, what better could you do than that, right? It paid for me to go to the bar that night and have 2 beers. I was made in the shade with $10, right?
You're on top of the world. So Studenomics, so I made my first $20. So you figured I should drop that at school. But luckily, I didn't drop out. Luckily, I finished college.
That's a good. You had that education to fall back on in case the $20 a month didn't support you.
Exactly, and the best part was this is why I wrote this book, A Failure to Launch No More, because life is all about launching, launch. If you're not launching, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, so listeners, just so you know, Martin's book you just mentioned just came out in the last couple of months, right?
Yeah, I've launched 2 books this year. 2015 is the year of launching.
Awesome. So what we'll end with that. We'll talk about what we've been doing this year at the end. So let's keep going with your Studenomics story. So you had your $20 a month. Things were going well. What happened next?
Well, one, I realized that I love like helping people. Like, I know it sounds corny, like I'm a bit of a jerk sometimes, but I really do like to help people, and I love to see people accomplish their goals. Like, for example, my friend Mike just showed me his bank account the other day, and he saved $30,000 in the last 2 years by applying the Studenomics advice.
That's awesome. 30 grand's not chump change. That's serious,
a lot of money.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's in a savings account, and he's ready to invest now. So I learned that I like to help people. I also learned that I don't want to be stuck in a job that I hate. Like, you know, you go on Facebook and like you see people, TGIF, FML, I hate my job, blah blah blah. Like, I didn't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I never wanted to be the guy that you know, Friday night comes around, he gets hammered by 6 p.m. because he's so pissed off at the world.
Yeah, you get hammered by 6 p.m. because it's fun, right?
Exactly. It happens by accident.
That's just what, after you have a beer and then another beer and keep going, it's a side effect of enjoying a quality beverage.
I'm not a quitter, you know. I don't have just one. So actually, at this point, I want to mention one of my favorite quotes is by Seth Godin. He says, instead of thinking about your next vacation, you need to set up a life that you don't need to escape from.
That's an awesome philosophy. I love that. That's really cool.
So to go back to Studenomics, so I'm blogging, I'm writing, and all of a sudden I keep on getting more ads and more ads and more ads. And then I thought that I was like, you know, like I have a personal finance blog and like I'm a pioneer, you know, I'm a trailblazer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found the forum and I realized I had the least popular personal finance blog.
Which forum?
Do you remember the Money Blog Network forums?
That sounds familiar. That's
yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that. The forum that really changed my blog was the Akazi. That was the one.
Yeah. I was on there too.
Yeah, connecting with all those people is that was a huge game changer for me in terms of traffic, in terms of understanding what I could make online. You know, I was making more than $10 a post when I found them, but I was seeing people making like $100 a post, $200 a
wow.
post. It's like, whoa, this is like easy money. This was. By the way, just a little disclaimer to everybody out there, this sponsored post thing has changed a lot since the days we're talking about. It used to be you could just put a link to a website on your blog and that website's Google ranking would increase automatically. It was pretty much, you know, a step-by-step process to have your site rank highly. Since then, Google looks for unnatural linking practices. So if a website gets, 20 links in a day and it's never gotten a link before, Google's going to say, well, that's weird. And it's going to not just penalize the site that got the links, it's going to penalize the sites that linked to it. So you can't do these sponsored posts anymore. I mean, some people do, but you can't do them the way that we used to do them to make money like this. So, that's a little disclaimer. You might not want to try this at home. Some people, if you start a blog, will approach you about it, but it's at your own risk.
Well, that's also the beauty about blogging is that it's all been on the job training. Like I said, I realized that there was other bloggers out there, and I also realized that my design sucked. I had the desk. It was like do you remember the desk theme? It's like a theme. It's like just a picture of a desk.
I think I remember it on your blog. I don't remember the theme particularly, but yeah.
I was the one moron that actually thought it was cool, Studenomics, I got a desk. This is like awesome. Nah, it just looked ridiculous and corny as hell.
Well, you have a new theme and hired an awesome designer to help you build it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the guy personally, but professionally he's all right.
That's all right. So if you didn't pick up on that, everyone, I in my freelance web design business that I've mentioned on the podcast before, I gave Martin a buddy rate because he's a good friend. We go back a while, and we got him an awesome new theme. So if you haven't gone over it and checked it out yet, it's pretty cool. I'd like to think.
I hope that every single listener gets to check it out because the design and the content will just change your life.
The design looks good, but it's like any blog. It's really about the content. It's about the words on the page. And Martin does some amazing posts. He just did one recently I guess we'll jump the gun a little bit. He's been doing some Uber driving and wrote this really in-depth post about what it's like to be an Uber driver. And if you've been wondering if it's worth it to make the money, definitely go check that post out. It's totally cool, along with everything else Martin writes.
Yeah, that's another on-the-job training aspect of my life. Sometimes I'll just take on completely random challenges, like becoming a cab driver for a couple months and writing about it just to share it with you guys.
That's cool. So Studentnomics has grown, developed. Does that pay for a good chunk of your living expenses, or is that still kind of a minor thing on the side as far as income goes?
Oh yeah, well here the thing was that I discovered very fast that I got my theme going, I got my content change. I changed my content. My writings change a lot. Like when I look back on and I'm sure you can attest to this too yourself. I look back at the post from 2008 and I just cringe. Like, oh,
totally.
I've gone back and edited
one today.
I've been deleting and editing. It's just embarrassing. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it.
I've probably deleted 150 posts from way back in the day. And my new posts, they're longer, they're better, they're more in depth. Definitely higher quality guides than I used to. Oh boy,
it's funny because I've been doing it for 7 years now, and I don't even feel like it's been 7 years because the first few years were just some of the articles were 200 words. I just had to delete them. I'm like, why did I post this? And why were people so engaged in this?
Yeah.
And the whole blogging experience was a fluke for me. So I started writing content. I got the design. I'm getting comments. I'm meeting other bloggers, and then I started reading about these blogs and how to make money. And I soon discovered that there are so many ways to make money right now. In 2010, 2011, especially right now, 2015, the world is such a beautiful place right now. I went from selling text links, then I started offering coaching. I've done a personal finance coaching, and then opportunities would spring up. I have almost never, for the first 4 years, I almost never emailed anybody. I would get emails. So, for example, a few years in, I got an email to appear on Fox Business News.
That's pretty cool. That's a fun media appearance.
And this is before I was a pro wrestler. Now I wrestle topless, so I'm used to being in front of crowds. I was 21, 22, and I had to go on the news. And it was a satellite. It was a satellite hit. So I just sat in a room staring at a camera, and I have not gone back to watch the footage. I don't even want to see it.
Yeah, I feel like I should go find it and put it in a link to it in the show notes if I can find that. That could be kind of fun.
Actually, I do have a clip. Last year, I spoke at the Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago, and I was on the local news there, and I did come off better there because, now I'm a much different person than I was 7 years ago.
Your microphone skills are improved a little.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to talk now.
So Studentnomics, it's still going strong, doing well. I know you've done some other projects too. You've had dating websites and workout websites. Can you talk a little bit about those?
So what I realized that when it comes to money, sex, health, people turn to the internet.
Totally.
Because that's the only reason I started blogs. Because in real life, we wanted to start a business, but I soon realized that nobody would actually take advice in person. But when you write about it and you actually look at your search engine traffic, sometimes it's pretty amusing how people find you.
Totally. I've had people find me through the strangest keywords before. It's you never know.
I know. I wish I could contact these people and say, "Good luck, brother," or sister. Or offer them, a beer or something. I don't know.
So how did those sites develop? How did you get the ideas? Have they been successful?
Well, define successful. I mean, I'm still not a billionaire, despite my best efforts. But after I've been running Studentnomics for 7 years, in 2013, I started kettlebellrebels.com. Because as much as I love money, I also love fitness and working out and looking good and feeling amazing. So I started writing about fitness and unconventional, fitness lifestyle. I share my pro wrestling journey on there. I share, I do a lot of BJJ, a lot of MMA. So I share a lot of stories on there. And as I say with the blog, there's more than one way to make money. The text links are a thing of the past. But now I started writing books. Because I realized anybody can self-publish a book, as you know. So my newest venture has been publishing books. So yes, my next book is actually about dating. It's about getting out of the friend zone. But I don't want to get too into that right now because that hasn't been released yet.
So everyone stay tuned for Martin's book on the friend zone. Sucks, man. I remember in my dating days, I got there way too many times. It was when you're into a girl and she's just like, oh, let's hang out. I'm like, I don't want to just hang out. Let's go on a date. Yeah.
Well, hey, it was my moral obligation to write this book. I had to write it. The moral and social obligation.
So, but even though I was in the friend zone many times, I have done okay. I have a wonderful wife, so
yes,
I managed to do okay.
Is awesome.
A lot of people still having trouble. Those young guys, they're the ones who need it. Those high school guys, and trying to break into the dating world, they're the ones who get stuck there the most. It's a learning curve, dating.
And just like blogging, just like business, everything is all about little experiments and testing out ideas. So I started, writing articles about nothing, and now I've sold coaching, I've sold courses, I sell books. Public speaking I do. It's just amazing how many opportunities exist out there. You have to just be willing to put yourself out there and ship to the market.
Right. So, can you find links to all that stuff on Studentnomics if people want to?
Hey, you go to Studentnomics, you grab a copy of my book. That should keep you busy for the next couple months. I promise you. My main book right now is called Next Rounds on Me. It's the whole financial freedom journey in your 20s. I take you from broke and pissed off to financially free by the time you hit 30.
Have the books overall been selling well? Has each book been doing a little better than the last? Have you learned any awesome self-publishing tricks to get more sales?
Oh, yes. My first book was just total experiment. I didn't even really announce it. I was very timid because, when I first launched my blog, as I said, I had the worst design, worst everything, and I slowly told people about it. Mm-hmm. And now it's taken me a while, but now I'm very open, I'm very out there. But it just took me 7 years to get to the stage now where they call me the Latin lover in wrestling, and I sell my own shirts. and people wear my shirts at the gym. It took me like 7 years to get to the level where I can wear my own shirt and actually talk about my own blog, my own book. So my first book, I didn't even tell anybody about it. The girl I was dating, she goes, you released a book? Yeah. So as you can imagine, if you don't tell anybody about your book, you're not going to get many sales,
I did the same. I told people who already read my blog, but that was really the only place I told anyone when I put out my first book, called The Personal Finance Arsenal.
Never heard of it.
See, that's because I didn't tell anybody about it. Yeah,
so actually June was my best month so far because I did this thing called self-promote.
Yeah.
I found that I did a lot of guest posts. I sent review copies like crazy. Well, first I wrote an amazing book. Like, I stand behind this book. I have one bad review, and I'm very offended because I offered a free promotion, and the book says, Next Rounds on Me. It's all about having fun. And the person downloads a free copy and complains that I talk too much about partying. The book is called Next Rounds on Me. What do you think I'm going to talk about?
I think you'd get that from the title. But.
Yeah, this bad review. So there's one bad review, but that's fine. And so guest posting, sending review copies. I got friends to take pictures with the book, and I'm proud to say that June was my best month so far.
That sounds like it's a lot of hard work, a lot of hustle, but it's paying off. That's cool.
And the beauty is that I know now for my next book exactly what to do, what not to do, and I can only learn in the process.
You're gonna have to write a book on how to launch a book, so people like me can figure out how to do that better.
It's funny because I think we live in this is a bit off topic. I think we live in the era where there's more money in teaching how to do something than doing it. Like that article about Uber, I'm making more money from referring Uber than I did from driving for Uber. That makes no sense.
That's awesome though. If you all you need to do is crack your own code. Some people don't have the the drive or the talent or whatnot to write a blog, and that's okay. And there's so many different ways to make money, as you said today, more than ever before. In the coming weeks and months, there will be a mega post on my blog about how to start freelancing, and I go through. There's tons of things you can do if you're in like photography or video or graphic design, writing, web design, anything, almost anything you can do. If you can come up with something that someone else can't do and is willing to pay for, and you're at least moderately good at it, you can make money. It's amazing. You can connect online so much faster than ever before. It's a cool thing.
The beautiful part is that it takes nothing to put yourself out there now. Like I learned this, this is a whole different topic. Why I bought a rental property, and I was going to hire a property management firm, and one of my mentors pulled me aside and said, "We're going to have problems if you hire a property management firm." He goes, "You're in your 20s. You're full of energy. Don't tell me that you're too busy. Don't act like you're busy. I know you're not that busy. You can do this on your own." I said, "How?" He said, "Just use the internet." So just by using a couple Google searches, I found a lease agreement and an application form. Boom. And then I had to advertise this condo when I was renting it out. How do I do that? I just go to Kijiji and I looked up other rentals in the building, and I almost copied them word for word.
There you go.
So I went from clueless to, within a couple of clicks and searches, I was able to rent out my property. And I'm lucky that it all worked out because I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing screenings and people were asking me questions and I was just making up answers.
but somehow it's all worked out. Is it providing good cash flow for you?
Oh, I got really lucky. I mean, it was a condo. I bought it from a developer it was a pretty shitty area, like I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
And then after I rented it out, I lived there for a bit and then I rented it out and I traveled. Went to Europe, I won't get into that. Another story. And then I don't know if it's for your audience. And then
we'll have you back and have a whole talk on travel because we're going to be running out of time in a few minutes. But keep going.
So then I just I realized that the building was just horrible, but the location was developing. Long story short, somebody made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I didn't refuse. I took the money and now I'm investing. So I'm going to invest in another property. And just investing in myself, traveling, attending conferences, reading books, meeting interesting people, and just trying to create more.
That's great. So we've touched on the pro wrestling thing throughout, but let's talk about that for a few minutes because it's a totally interesting thing. And I'll admit I am at some points not so secret pro wrestling fan. Way back when my dad took me when I was little to see Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter, and I saw the Ultimate Warrior. I saw these classic wrestlers way back when I was little. And one time when we lived in Indianapolis, my dad got us second row seats, and we were there, and it was like the most exciting thing for my dad to take me as little boy. And I was 3 or 4. We left Indianapolis on my 5th birthday, so I was young. And I got so scared, I thought it was real. And they kept
it is real.
They kept throwing each other they throw them into the fence right in front of you, that metal rail. And I thought they were going to fall on me. I was a little kid, and they're like sweat, punch the guy, the sweat flies on me. I turned to my dad. I'm like, "Dad, I think this is PG-6. I'm not old enough to be here." And I made him take me out. But how did you get into this pro wrestling world?
So you said you were a little kid. Kids are awesome. Like these kids come to the show and I'm a villain and they hate me. and the best part is there's a little girl who comes to shows and she's like a huge fan.
I saw the pictures online. That's awesome that you've stolen a girl's heart already.
God bless her parents, because her parents have to make a new sign every show. and they try to convince her that she can bring the same sign, and she told them nope, he's gonna notice. So she brings a new sign every show, and when I'm out there, I'll never I'll try not to acknowledge it because I'm a bad guy. But after the show, when everybody leaves, I always find her just to say hello. And at first she was nervous because she thought I was gonna be mean to her, but we always have a good little chat whenever I see her and her parents.
So how did you start wrestling? What got you on the path to becoming the Latin lover?
So everything ties down to financial freedom and saving money. So I always wanted to save money. I was always greedy. I was always into investing money. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to chase dreams. But I've always been very logical. So I did everything you're supposed to do. As I said, I went to school. I saved up, blah blah blah, all that boring stuff. But the one thing I never got to do was to chase my pro wrestling dream.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned 25 and I said, it's too late now. I was a fan for life. I'm like, I'll just continue being a fan. I'll just go to shows. Like, I belong in the crowd, right? Like, I should stay in the crowd. And then a school opened up near my house, and it just everything just, the stars just aligned. I said, like, that school was put there for a reason. I have to join this place. So I joined, and it was just for fun, right? Like, we got in the ring, and I started doing some MMA training. I did some BJJ, which I still do. And it was just all like fun and games, you run the ropes, you do some wrestling, you train. It was all fun until they announced the show. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I realized I have to be in the show. I'm like, wait, I have to actually do this? Like, I thought I was just here for fun, living out a dream. I get to go in the ring, run around, make a fool of myself. And then I was put in a show. Eric, I was terrified. Like 400 people in the crowd. I have to go out there and wrestle. And I swear to you, the first moment I went out there, I realized I love performing. I love being a bad guy. I love the attention. I love all eyes on me. I love just having fun. So it's kind of like a fluke. It just worked out. I was 25. The school opened beside me. I joined. I grew my hair was growing out at the time. They liked my look, and they started putting me on shows. And now I've been almost the last 2 years. I've been almost on every show. I'm one of the main characters. I'd like to think so. At least in my mind, I am. And I just take it one day at a time.
So let's before we wrap up, let's say you're on stage about to cut a promo on video. Will you do a promo for us all to hear on the podcast?
Oh, on who? On what?
Be the Latin lover. You can on anything you want. Like you're doing a show. If you were put on right now and they said do a Latin lover, a 15, 20-second promo, what would you say in character?
Eric Rosenberg, you pencil neck geek, you should be thanking me for being here. I'm the Latin lover. I put the harm in charm.
That is awesome. So
and I would just go on from there, just pick it on you because you're smaller than me. It would just be easy,
I get that totally. So so people want to find you. Where should they go?
Studenomics.com. Grab a copy of my book, Enlighten Yourself, and MD at Studenomics.com. Studenomics on Twitter. Send me a message, and I'm here for you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing your story. This was totally fun. Everyone, please do go out, check out Martin's website. It's a great resource. As I mentioned, that Uber post, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Go out, connect. He will respond to your messages and your tweets. He's a great guy, and he won't be as mean to you as he just was to me, unless you ask, maybe, if you ask nicely. So until next time, everyone, thanks for being a part of this. Martin, thanks for listening. All the listeners out there, you can always reach me with any questions. Eric at personalprofitability.com. If you liked what you heard, hop on iTunes, leave a rating. If not, let me know what I can do better. And until next time, stay profitable.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Profitability Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on iTunes or share it with a friend.